what we want to do as a company is bring the conversation about minerals to the world, because there's such a misunderstanding about minerals and how they work. And there's a lot of misunderstanding about humic and fulvic as well. And we also, because of my own personal experience with the minerals, I really want to help people. If I had only known about these minerals like 20 years ago, it could have changed my entire life.
Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, epigenetic human performance coach. This is where we discuss all things lifestyle, environment, food, exercise, work, mind, and social interaction as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone. So if you're ready to start viewing you as an individual, take control of your life and health, and get results, buckle up. Here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins. This is where we talk about everything lifestyle and environment and how it relates to epigenetic expression. And today we have a great one. I'm so excited to have this person on here. We're going to be talking about mineral replenishment, something very few people think about, although you hear a lot of people now with their little packets of their LMNT or different electrolyte packets. This takes you to another step past just an electrolyte packet. I've got the co-founder of the company called Beam Minerals, BEAM. Her name is Caroline Allen. And I heard Caroline on another podcast last year. And as she told her story, it was just gripping to me because I related so much to it. And she has a fantastic story. And I have not done any podcasts on where I was touting a specific product until now, because I believe so much in this product. I've been using it since, November of last year, 2023. And I just have so many great things to say about this company as a whole and Caroline. And I will get into that within the podcast, but I don't want to waste time and I want to bring her on. She's a health survivor and a mineral enthusiast. She's coming from a career in the corporate world, like many of us that have moved forward. She found herself struggling physically, mentally, and energetically. And I know that's going to ring true with a lot of you out here listening. And as a result of her journey back to health and years of deep research, Caroline's become devoted to educating people about how minerals operate in the body, why we need to supplement our mineral intake, and the benefits of natural humic and fulvic plant-based mineral substances for replenishment in the body. She is a regular contributor to podcasts. Like I said, that's how I've discovered her. I was listening to other podcasts. I've heard her speak at different conferences. She is out there, people, all over the place, putting the word out there. And again, co-founder of Beam Minerals. Welcome aboard, Caroline Allen.
Thank you so much for having me, Susan. It is an absolute pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. We have so much to unpack here today. As we started talking before I hit the record button here, there's just so much information, and we'll try to break it down in a way that's easy for everybody to understand and stay on track with. We're going to be talking about the myth busting, the mineral depletion, and replenishment. Why a product like Beam Minerals is more beneficial or different from a product that's just a salt-based electrolyte formula. But I would love you to start with your story, because that's what gripped me into this whole world of mineral replacement. When I do DNA reports, especially, we're looking at different propensities for things like potassium, magnesium, which we're all taking a ton of, especially magnesium, and all the different minerals. And this is one product where I have different brands I'll use of different things, but I always say, get the Beam Minerals. You can't go wrong. So
cool.
Let's start with your story, your journey, because it's so fascinating. And then we can launch into everything else from there.
Yeah, cool. Somebody had told me that I was going to be called the mineral geek. I would have just laughed in their face, because I did not come from a science background or practitioner background at all. I came into this because I was in the corporate world. I had 2 children. After having children, my minerals in my body were so depleted. They were depleted before I had children. I had a struggle getting pregnant because of it. And I've had all sorts of challenges, health challenges throughout my life with autoimmune and mold exposure as a young person, et cetera. But I came out of my corporate career. It was about 1990 and 1990? No, 2000. I'm sorry, 2010. I don't know why I said 1990. 2010.
The podcast is real.
I've lost track of the timeline of the past, but 2010. And I was in really ill health. I had very bad inflammation in my gut, even though I had been gluten-free for about 7 years. I could never get over the bloating and the elimination issues. I had really bad inflammation in my mouth with receding gums that had started when I was pregnant and just it continued. I had such bad recession that I had also some bone loss in my teeth, and I had really bad inflammation in the gums with deep pockets. And I had been to multiple dentists trying to solve the problem. I had always felt it might be systemic because your mouth is connected to the rest of your gut.
Everything.
But I could never find what it was. And then I also had recurring sinus infections, like every 6 to 8 weeks, I had another sinus infection and constant headaches and all sorts of problems. And you have to understand, I was a person who was focused on my health. I did yoga all the time. I did all sorts of, I ate really well, probably in the top 10% of people. I ate organic, all sorts of things, but I was just really unhealthy and struggling with my energy. I had 2 young boys. I was really struggling. It's one of the main reasons I quit my career in the corporate world, because I realized I was literally dying. So at that time, I met my now business partner, and he introduced me to these plant-based humic and fulvic minerals. And I started taking them. They were these liquids. They're really easy to take. They tasted like water. And I took 1 ounce of these every day, not a lot, like 1 ounce in a little cup. And I seemed to wake up every morning and my body was like, oh, I want those. So I took them. After 2 months, I went to my dentist to have my teeth cleaned. I had my teeth cleaned every 3 months at that time because I was so trying to heal my mouth. And I went in and we had the teeth cleaned. There was very little sensitivity, which was new because I had major sensitivity normally.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the dentist looked at my teeth, she in my mouth, she was like, oh my gosh, what's happened? The pH in your mouth has totally changed. The tissues don't look raw and inflamed. They look healthy and pink. What are you doing? And I'm like, well, I don't know. She literally left the room and she came back. I was like, I think it might be these minerals that I'm taking. She's like, well, you just keep taking them. And then 4 months in, the other thing that I had was I had flatlined adrenals for almost 2 years. And I've been working with multiple different practitioners. The most recent, for the previous year, I'd been working with this naturopath. And my last appointment, she wanted me to take hydrocortisone because literally we had everything we tried. Nothing was impacting my adrenal function. And we did the test prior to the session, and I went in and she looked at the results. She was amazed. They were 1/3 of the way up the chart. This is a huge change. It had been about 4 months prior to that when I'd taken my previous test. So this is huge. And she's like, what are you doing? Well, I said, I think it might be these minerals. So over the space, and then I went through season after season, no sinus infection. And over the space of about 8 or 9 months, all of these symptoms, all of the elimination problems, the bloating in my gut, they all just seemingly miraculously just resolved. And I was like, and I literally changed nothing. I didn't change my diet. I didn't change the way I exercised. I didn't change the supplementation that I was taking. The only thing I added was this.
And this was over a several months period.
It was about 8 or 9 months.
8 or 9 months. Okay.
8 or 9 months. Okay. And at the end of that, I started going, to this man who was my friend at the time, who's now my partner. And I was like, how could these do that? Really? And I started researching because I have this theory that there are no stupid questions, and smart people ask a lot of stupid questions. So you have to be willing. It's how I got into my career of technology. I just kept asking lots of stupid questions and I became an expert because I had asked them all. So I did that with minerals. And as I was learning, I just started having these aha moments. And because I'm not a scientist working in a particular silo, I'm not a practitioner working in a particular area, I was ignorant. I could just research wherever I wanted. And so I had this opportunity to bring together all these pieces, and they just came together, and they were like explosions in my brain. I was like, oh my God, why did I never know this? Why don't people know this? This could have saved my life. And nobody ever once in my life told me that minerals drive and fuel every biosynthesis process in my body. Every single bit of energy that's produced in my body is fueled by minerals and amino acids. Every single process and every bit, well, not all of the energy, but a very high amount of the energy in your body is produced in the mitochondria using these fuel of cofactors.
Absolutely.
Minerals and amino acids. So think about that. And most people have no idea that they need minerals. So then I started learning about, well, why was I so mineral deficient? And I just literally went down the rabbit hole.
And that hence was the beginning of the Mineral Geek.
Right.
And here you are.
People just started calling me that because I couldn't stop talking about how these minerals had changed my life. And they're like, okay, we don't want to hear about this again. You know, it was a broken record, but
yeah. That's how I am with the epigenetics. People are like, can you just shut up about it a bit? But you don't understand this. It saved my life. This is my lifestyle. I live it, eat, sleep, breathe, live it. And it's just an excitement and a passion it creates. And you don't want to stop talking about it. So I get it. I totally get what you're
epigenetics is one of the super exciting topics too. My gosh. I've just only just started learning about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating. And it did literally not only change my career, but my health and my life as well. And when I found that I started doing all of the right things at the right time that I thought I was doing before and realized I wasn't according to how I'm created, now I get to add these extra little things that are really big things coming in here, like bean minerals, to further optimize, because that's it's all. Why are we going through life just existing? Right? Like you were, like I was at one point. We're just getting through life, and that's not why we're here. And I say this on every freaking podcast I do, that we are here to live out loud, live our best lives optimally, feeling amazing. If you don't have your quality of life, you could have all the money in the world, but really have nothing if you don't have that quality of life. And
so think about that. Think about that relative to how minerals drive your body. And modern scientists think that people who aren't properly or effectively supporting their bodies with mineral supplementation or replenishment, they probably only are, and I'm being very optimistic, they're operating at about 40% of the energy generation in their body that they could. So if you're like in a room, like if I took these lights in my room and I dialed them down to 40%, that's how most people's bodies are operating. Think about it. What your body has to do then is pick and choose. It can't do everything. So it says, well, you don't need your hair and those nails, they can chip. We don't care about those. And well, we'll live with this inflammation in the gut because it'll survive. And because what we have to keep going is the heart and the lungs, and we have to keep the fundamental foundational pieces. It focuses on what has to happen. But when you start giving yourself proper mineral replenishment, what happens is your body's able to produce more energy. And then it doesn't have to pick and choose as much. It can actually begin to clear that inflammation in the mouth or in the gut. It can start clearing the inflammation in the sinuses. It can actually do the work that it actually has the capacity to do.
Mm-hmm. I want to get into what the humic and fulvic acid are and about this depletion, but what do you find, or what do we know that are some of the biggest drivers of this mineral depletion?
I'm so glad you asked that, because not most people, but a lot of people take vitamin supplements, right? They're like, yeah, I take my multivitamin or my B vitamins at the least, right? And they take their vitamin D and, those kinds of things. But how many people take minerals, and maybe people take zinc, or maybe somebody told them they need chromium or selenium or a few things, right? Or they take their electrolyte packets.
Yes.
But the reason that we're depleted, and the reason that it's become, I would call it a mineral depletion crisis that we're all experiencing. In fact, there's a term for it that the World Health Organization coined, and it's called the hidden hunger. And the hidden hunger is a term that describes the feeling that you have when your body does not have all of the minerals and micronutrients that are necessary to generate all the energy. So if you find yourself going to the fridge at night after you've eaten dinner and you're looking for that thing, it's probable that your cells are saying, we need minerals. We didn't get everything we needed from that food. We need something else. I really want to break this down for people to understand. The food supply that we're eating, you cannot get enough minerals from the foods you eat. And I understand there's lots of people who are talking about food as medicine, and I totally agree. And humic and fulvic fits right in there. They are natural substances that come from the earth. They're not lab created, formulated supplements. Okay. They're from the earth. So
literally from the dirt, right?
They literally are from ancient decomposed dirt. Not dirt. We don't say soil. We say soil.
Soil.
Dirt. Yeah.
See, I'm the layman here.
Yeah. Dirt. That's okay. Yeah. Some people like that. Just call it that for the fun of it. But it's really ancient decomposed plants, freshwater plants specifically. But so when a plant grows in the soil in nature, the way that it creates all of the structure in the plant is by sucking minerals out of the soil. In fact, if you're a woman and you grow a baby in your body, the way that all of the structure of that baby is created is by sucking minerals out of your body. All of the structure around you, all of the structure on earth is minerals. All of it, all of the structure in your body. So everything requires minerals. It is the most fundamental element. They are the most fundamental elements on the earth. So in nature, when a plant grows, it sucks the minerals out of the soil, even a huge cedar tree or redwood. And then ultimately that plant dies and it decomposes, and that mineral content goes back into the soil. However, in our infinite wisdom, we do cultivation. So we grow plants in soil. We take those plants away and we eat them somewhere else. And that mineral content never gets back into the soil. Now, it's one thing to add nitrates or fertilizers or other kinds of humus and things back into the soil, but to get bioavailable minerals back into the soil, the most effective way that many farmers and regenerative farmers know is to use humic and fulvic. So that is the most bioavailable method of replenishing minerals into the soil. And it's also the most bioavailable way to get minerals back into your body. Now, why is that? Because these elements, humic and fulvic, evolved right alongside cellular systems in nature. When cellular systems were first evolving and minerals and nutritional elements had to get into those cells, there had to be tools developed, natural methods for getting those nutrients and minerals and amino acids into the cells. And that was humic and fulvic. The other reason that we're all depleted is that we're drinking bottled and filtered water. And most bottled and filtered water has no minerals in it. The water has been stripped of minerals as well as all the other environmental potential toxins or pollutants.
Sure.
So that's exacerbated the problem dramatically over the last 10 years. So now kids in particular are the ones who are really getting hit with mineral deficiency. And kids are coming off of sports fields. We're having obesity issues. These are all
huge
related to mineral deficiency and depletion. We're having cognitive issues with school, rise of ADHD, rise of mood disorders, of anger issues, depression, anxiety. These are all related to mineral deficiency. Okay.
If you combine the lack of minerals with all the toxins in the environment,
yes,
that's just like a double whammy that you're getting hit with. And we
as
are
well
seeing
as the ultra processed foods.
Oh, God.
So the
Just
UPFs, as well as the toxins that we're encountering, glyphosate being in particular one that exacerbates mineral deficiency as well, because it chelates out iron and molybdenum and copper from your system, as well as creating all sorts of other effects. And we cannot get away from glyphosate exposure. Nope. It's everywhere. And one of the beautiful things about humic is it removes glyphosate from your system.
Oh, okay. Because I see, and I work with Amy Horniman, that's whose podcast I heard you on. I work with her and we see a lot of people there iron deficient, a lot of my own clients iron deficient, and most are not doing organic. Some are, but most aren't. A lot of people are still just learning about this kind of stuff. But that makes sense because I've been sitting here thinking, why are these people? I had a client yesterday that said she has been low on ferritin almost all her life, even taking it. And the doctors can't figure it out. Now I sit here thinking, oh my gosh, could something like humic and fulvic help her along with that? And could it be part of the problem with the food she's taking in that has glyphosate constantly depleting what she's trying to put in? This is my little detective brain starts going here going, oh,
yeah, you're going to be starting to add glyphosate testing for your clients.
Wow. Thank you for this other rabbit hole in my life, Carol.
Right.
I'm going to be a geek of something at some point here, and I'm not the researcher. So since we're just touching on iron really quickly, I do have a client I met with earlier this morning, and she is doing beam minerals. And she had said that she'd like to get her husband on it, but he has hemochromatosis. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it is excess iron buildup in the system. And it's very dangerous if you don't deal with it. And what is that safe? Is beam something? And we'll get more, we're going to be describing all your beam and everything, your products and everything. But just since we touched on the iron part of it, is that something that would be safe for her husband to take with something like hemochromatosis?
Well, so I have some science advisors that I work with, and there is a great solution for hemochromatosis. And it is a product by a company called Curcumin Pro. And the product is called TerraPro. And it's a specific bentonite clay. It's unlike any other bentonite clay on the planet. It comes from a very specific source. And they have had incredible results with resolving hemochromatosis issues with people who had to get people with hemochromatosis. They go give blood all the time, and that's how they lower their iron levels, which is really challenging on the body because you're constantly having to rebuild blood cells. But what has worked incredibly well, we've worked with many people who have hemochromatosis and want to take the beam minerals, and all they do is they take one capsule of the TerraPro along with their beam minerals every day, and no problem, no additional iron buildup.
Fantastic.
And you
said that it even helps with the hemochromatosis part.
Exactly. And anyone who has that, if they want to talk to them, the Curcumin Pro people, I'd be happy to put them in touch so they can understand if they want to understand how that could work, or you could just try it. The nice thing about it, it's a very easy supplement to take. You can, it comes either as a powder or as a capsule, and it has no flavor. So it's really easy to take. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that information. So Patty, that was for you. And I told her I'd give her a shout out here. So now, can you describe a bit about mineral absorption and assimilation and how the
Yeah.
humic and fulvic, what they actually do? And then we'll describe your beam minerals. And I want to talk a bit about your company as well and the customer service, which is above and
Nice.
beyond anything I've experienced with a company.
Well, what I want people to understand about minerals, it was one of the huge aha moments I had, is that minerals have to get inside the cells. Now, the problem with most mineral supplements is that they are made from rocks, shells, and bones.
Wow.
Now, there are also electrolyte supplements made from salts, and we'll talk about that separately. But most mineral supplements that you take are made from rocks, shells, and bones that are ground up. And what do you do if you're eating and you get a bone or a rock or a shell in your mouth? You spit it out because you know your digestive tract, your human digestive tract doesn't break those down very well. Now, people think, oh, well, it's ground up. It's in powder form. That's good. But what you don't understand, and this blew my mind when I really started to look at digestion, for something to be absorbed through the lining of your gut into your bloodstream, it has to be broken down in your digestive tract all the way down to its what we call ionic chemical components.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be broken down so small, way smaller than you can imagine, and only about 10 to 12% of those rock, shell, and bone supplements ever gets broken down to the component size necessary for absorption. Yeah. The rest of it ends up in your urine or in your feces, and it creates imbalance in your gut microbiome. This is one of the interesting things so let's talk for a minute about the gut microbiome and what we know about it now, because this is so important when you're thinking about minerals. So your gut microbiome, when it's healthy, it's like a really healthy forest. It's full of all this diverse plant life and fungi and all sorts of microorganisms and beneficial bacteria. It is just replete with this incredible environment. There's enough water. There's healthy, all sorts of nutrients. And now if you imagine it like a forest, go take a wheelbarrow full of calcium and throw it on that forest floor. And what's going to happen in that area? The plants are not going to thrive. Why is that? Because your microbiome, and in fact, your entire body is an ecosystem. And ecosystems work much better with small trace amounts of a balanced formulation of minerals, nutrients, amino acids, etc. So what you want to do instead so our products are and plant-based humic and fulvic, first of all, they are the natural, all plants on earth, they are delivered packets of nutritional elements to their roots via something called the mycelium. And what do they deliver? Packets of humic and fulvic.
Oh,
so this is the way all plants and animals on earth, like not in nature, are getting their mineral supplementation. So your body recognizes humic and fulvic because your body is made of cells evolved next to humic and fulvic, and they naturally know how to work with one another. So that's one of the cool things, as opposed to a huge bolus or amount, wheelbarrow full of a particular mineral, or maybe 3 or 4 minerals. And I always say, go take your mineral supplement and mix it in some water and pour it on your house plant for a few days or a week and watch what happens to your plant. It's not going to be happy.
Really?
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah. Do that with your salt-based electrolytes and watch what happens. So that's another conversation. But so the first thing you have to know is that minerals first have to be digested all the way down to their chemical components. Then they have to be absorbed through the lining of your gut into your bloodstream. Mm-hmm. And the way that works is your whole lining of your gut is lined with these receptor sites. I like to think of them like catcher's mitts. Something lands in the catcher's mitt and now it gets absorbed. The body says, oh, that's some calcium. Let's absorb it. Let's some magnesium. Let's absorb it. But all those the interesting thing about those catcher's mitts that line the lining of your gut, there's like 25,000 per square inch of, actually there's way more of the catcher's mitts, but it's phenomenal how many there are, but they're specific to specific elements and they're in specific ratios. So you've got a huge amount of receptor sites for magnesium and potassium and calcium, what we call our macro minerals. But you also have smaller numbers in specific ratios of receptor sites for many minerals that people don't even know about that they need, absolutely are required and necessary, like molybdenum, vanadium, boron.
Things you don't typically see on a multivitamin.
Exactly.
Right? So no one knows.
People don't, yeah. Oh, what is molybdenum? I need that? What? And the beautiful thing is that the humic and fulvic have all those minerals and micronutrients in the proper ratios, in the same ratios that you are of receptor sites that you have on the lining of your gut, because they evolved right alongside. This is the natural way of things, as above, so below.
Yeah.
So once something hits a receptor site, now it's absorbed into your bloodstream. That's only 2 stages of what we call bioavailability, because those minerals most minerals don't do their job in your bloodstream. So people are taking all these minerals, and 10 to 12% of the bones, rocks, shells, and bones are getting absorbed into their bloodstream. But how many are actually getting into their cells?
And that's where the gold is in that cell.
And that's because that's where the mitochondria live. And the mitochondria are the ones that need all those minerals and micronutrients as cofactors for generating energy in the body.
Battery for our cells.
Battery, exactly. Battery for the cells. So the sad thing is so it goes like this: 10 to 12% gets absorbed through your lining, broken down, ready for absorption. 7 to 10% gets absorbed through the lining into your bloodstream. Only 5 to 7% actually gets into your cell.
Wow. So not only are you not getting what you actually need, you're wasting some money.
Wasting so much money, and also you're creating more work for your body to eliminate all the excess. So if you think about that forest and you're throwing that wheelbarrow of excess in that one area, now there's this concentration. Now that the forest has to work to actually clear all of that, and it also has to wait for water or for whatever to remove that excess so it can get back to homeostasis, what's called balance. Okay. Because minerals, this is the interesting thing that blew my mind, is minerals don't work in singularity. They all work in a balanced way. If you saw, there's this cool thing, it's called a mineral wheel, and it shows all the relationships between minerals. So let's say somebody has a deficiency in magnesium. And so now this happens a lot. People come to us and they're taking all this magnesium, but they're still showing a deficiency in magnesium. Isn't that interesting?
Why is that? I was one of them. Yeah. And you had said to me, I challenge you to go off your magnesium. And I will tell you, I've gone from 800 milligrams to 2. I've been weaning, and I am still so sleeping great.
See, and now, thank you. And you're sleeping fine, right?
Yeah.
Women who are using the magnesium for sleep, and I know there's a huge thing out there in the world, and this is my job. My job is to bring this paradigm shift about how to think about minerals, because yes, certain minerals will have certain effects in your body. If you take a lot of magnesium or potassium, you'll definitely eliminate, because your body is saying, I've got too much and I need to get rid of it now. Yeah.
What about the form of glycinate? And the reason I take that is a conversion of glutamate to GABA, helping with that, with a glutamate sensitivity. So.
And that's cool. I'm going to tell you, again, I am not a proponent of using single minerals at all. And only under very specific conditions for short periods of time.
Okay.
And I'm a I am a proponent of really finding out if you believe you have a deficiency. Well, find out. Use something called the oligoscan, which will tell you how much is actually getting into your tissues. It's a test you can do. It's non-invasive. It uses spectrophotometry to shine a light into your tissues, and it returns a set of data that goes through an algorithm and tells you how much are you actually uptaking of the mineral supplementation that you're taking and through your foods, etc. Do you have specific depletions that are telling you that you might have parasites, or you might have a proliferation of candida, or you may not, because of your genetics, you may not work, certain minerals might work differently in your body.
Exactly. And after I heard your podcast, I actually went and got my oligoscan done. And it did show some certain things. And the molybdenum was one of the ones that came up. And I pronounced it molybdenum. That's how much I knew about molybdenum, right? I don't even pronouncing it right.
Well, I know it's such a weird word.
Yeah. And just so people know, if they want to get the oligoscan, I think it was not expensive, and it took 10 minutes, if that. And if you go on to, I think, oligoscan.com, or I just punched in oligoscan, and we could provide the link, and it will tell you practitioners in your area that work with this technology. And it's super simple. You just sit on this table and you're easiest thing ever. And the information is fascinating that it pops out. So
I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
It's a great way to find out actually what's happening inside your body at a super foundational level. So this is the main thing is minerals have to get all the way into your cells. They have to be digested completely. They have to be absorbed through the gut lining. We know lots of people have malabsorption issues because their gut's inflamed, or they have all sorts of gut microbiome problems. Just absorption is potentially an issue. And then once they're in your bloodstream, they have to get assimilated, is the word, into your cells for them to do their job. So it really doesn't work to just pack your body with a whole bunch of minerals every day. What you're doing is just constantly creating imbalance in your system. So this is the difference between mineral supplementation and mineral replenishment. And I'm a proponent of mineral replenishment, which is using the body's natural replenishment systems and providing minerals in extremely bioavailable ways so that you're actually doing replenishment. Okay. It's a difference between if you have a field and your soils are deficient in minerals, you could pour a whole bunch of calcium or whatever. You could pour a bunch of powdered minerals on there, but it's not going to help your soils. When we work with, there's lots of farmers who know this. They put humic and fulvic and suddenly their plants go crazy. It's so cool. Yeah.
You had been pointing at some things here, source and delivery formats. So we have the food, like we said, that's not enough. And then the mega dosing, you talked about that. What about colloidal minerals?
Oh, okay. So colloidal minerals are actually humic and fulvic, usually. Okay. And they're just extracted using hydrochloric acid, which renders a molecule, which is an acid molecule. So if you've heard of humic and fulvic acid, those are colloidal usually. And there's nothing bad about them. They're just a little larger molecule that has to first be digested before it can be absorbed. And they just taste bad. They have a really bad flavor. So they're hard to drink. There's some products out there that are colloidal minerals and lots of people take them. But once they try our minerals, they're like, oh my gosh, thank God I don't have to take those colloidal, horrible tasting things anymore. And I can now take this stuff that tastes like water. And the beautiful thing about
people, it tastes like water. I drink my cocktail every morning.
And the beautiful thing about it is because it has no flavor, all it is minerals and water, and it's not an acid molecule. The minute you drink it, it's available for absorption. It requires no digestion at all.
And does it have to be taken on a full or an empty stomach? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter. What I say is humic and fulvic are the simplest supplement that you can take because they are natural. And in nature, they could say, well, we're going to have to make sure that animal hadn't eaten before it. You can take, and it doesn't break a fast. Incredible support for fasting. We've had lots of people who are doing some longer fasts and they use our minerals throughout the fast and they're able to extend their fast if they're really trying to have that experience. Just incredible support for the biosynthesis processes associated with what we call autophagy, which is what happens, the cell cleaning process or clearing process that's happening when you are in a deep fasting state.
So what about even like someone doing a detox?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And what people often ask me, should I be taking beam minerals when I'm doing a detox protocol? There's companies like Cellcore, as an example, great company, great products. They use humic and fulvic in their detox protocols. And what I say is, once you complete a detox protocol, your body is immediately being exposed to more chemicals and pollution and lead and et cetera. So what you want to have in your body is constant, gentle detoxification tools. And that's what fulvic and humic represent. We can now, if you want to talk about how they work and where they come from, we can jump into that.
Sure. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And I also want to talk about, because like I said in the beginning, the packets of minerals, or I used to use some that are squirtable. I don't want things with everything has natural flavors in it. That's glutamate. I can't do that. People don't realize that they're getting this in these natural flavors, and your products have none of that. Again, there's zero flavor because it tastes like water, and people like that flavor. They like that sugary crap and all. And that in a lot of those packets, that's why they're all flavored. So,
well, and a lot of them are flavored to cover the salty.
And I used to do the unflavored salty, and I'm just like, well, I'm drinking salt water. And then it just became the normal to me. When you have all the food issues, I do like a little salt water, not a problem. Right. So what would the difference be between beam with the humic and fulvic based as opposed to the salt based? And why is one more beneficial than the other?
Okay. I'm on a mission about the salt-based electrolytes and using salts for electrolyte replenishment in general. There's two pieces to this. One, I want people to think about your digestive tract. The human digestive tract is a freshwater system. Go drink take a tablespoon or a teaspoon of salt and put it in an 8-ounce glass of water and drink it. It will make you feel queasy. Your body, your digestive tract is a freshwater system. It's not a saltwater system. Okay. So salt-based electrolytes were actually designed for emergency situations. They were actually originally designed for the military, for soldiers who were like about to crash in really difficult situations. You don't want to take something that's designed for an emergency situation and start using it daily. Okay. So if you are having heat stroke and you're about to pass out, sure, take some salt-based electrolytes, boom. Okay. That's fine. And it will create imbalance, but you'll quickly come back to homeostasis. But when you're doing it regularly, what you're doing is constantly, so think about your gut microbiome, the way I described it. And what I always tell people is take your salt-based electrolytes and mix them up the way you usually drink them and pour it on your house plant. And do that every time you take a drink. You do one of those, put it on your house plant, and then watch what happens. Your house plant is not going to thrive. And that's what you're doing to your gut microbiome, which is full of plant life. So that's the first thing. So taking them once in a while, if you're a performance athlete and you do a marathon and at the end you want to, I still say our electrolyte product will work way faster and be a much, much better replenisher for you at any given time. But if you really like that and want that, do it. If you want to have a flavored drink, take our electrolytes, put it in a drink and put a little spritz of juice in there. Now you're getting fruit sugar. It's natural. If you want to have a flavor, it's going to be much better for you. So the problem, what we found with athletes who use salt-based electrolytes is they often struggle with hydration, feeling depleted all the time, and having cramping issues or fasciculations. When they come to us and I say, we wean them off of their salt-based electrolyte solutions and we get them just using our products. And I'm telling you, they never go back. I say, give me 1 month and see how you feel. So just recently I got a message from a guy, he's a tennis pro in the aging quadrant, and he has been doing tennis tournaments in the South in the last couple months, incredibly hot, humid, everyone's sweating bullets. And he's the only one who's coming off the courts not cramping. And all the people are saying, like, what are you doing? How come you're not cramping? And it's because he's using our products. Now, he uses a lot of them in a very specific protocol that we worked out for him, which if anybody's interested, we can tell you about. But for performance athletes, it's different. And we have some interesting stories on our website about people who are experiencing cramping, and we got them off the salt-based electrolytes onto Beam, and the cramping goes away.
Wow.
Because cramping isn't always a response to depletion. It can also be a response to imbalance of minerals.
Okay. Because I've heard people that they just keep taking more and more of these electrolytes and eating more bananas. Like, I have someone that was eating 3 bananas a day to stop to stop the cramping.
Yeah.
That's
and one of the things that happens when you take salt-based electrolytes on a regular basis is that it actually ends up irritating the lining of the bladder and the kidney. And I've talked to so many athletes. They're like, oh my gosh, that must be why I urinate so much. Right?
That's what I was doing. Yeah.
Exactly. So then they stop. And now the reason they start feeling hydrated is for 2 reasons. One, because they stop urinating so much. So they're not flushing. They're not what we call irrigating. They're hydrating. Because now the minerals that they're taking are also getting into the cells. So they're actually feeling replenished. And also the water that they're drinking is getting into the cells.
Yeah.
It's not just flushing out, going straight through their system.
This is totally making sense because I didn't add this in. I noticed I'm a massive hiker. We are both in Colorado, people. She's on the Western Slope, which is one of my favorite places in the world. And I'm on the other side of the mountains here. And so I'm a huge hiker. And and this is genetic for me, I have major issues with altitude. So I would always start out hiking, go like sucking wind for a while, and I might kick into gear. And I'm a huge high performance person. But this year has been markedly different. And the only time I notice where I'm really having issues is if I haven't had enough sleep, right? If something happens, I don't sleep. But I have found that I am heading up these mountains feeling so much better. And you're gonna laugh at this, but prior to this year, I might have to go pee on a trail once or twice, maybe once now, where before I was like round a corner, God, I got to go again. And I was taking extra of the salt minerals and putting them in my pouch and making sure I'd have them in the morning before I'd go and then during, and like constantly peeing. And now I could do longer hikes, harder hikes. And I'm really surprised. I only had to go like once on the trail, which was just odd. And that's after drinking like a mug of Capimo.
Right.
Plus my Beam in the morning. I guess that's my morning cocktail. Just a huge difference. And I'm doing the hydrogen water. And I'm just wondering, like the combination of these, that's the water I use to mix my Beam in and all. My recovery is phenomenal this year. I just hiked up towards 12,000 feet 2 days in a row. And I had altitude sickness the first 2 days. And I live in altitude, but I was up in Winter Park.
Yeah.
And I just kept saying, why the hell, this is so odd. that how it hit me that hard with the headache and everything. And I have my little travel thing of Beam that I got as a freebie that came with one of the things I bought from you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Took my little bottles up there. And that I remember that day, or I was just like, I just was adding more.
Mm-hmm.
And went up the first hike. I said, my God, after I finally got sleep. And it blew my mind at how my energy was so good. And I got done that hike and it was only this Chief Mountain. It was like 3 miles, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I came down and I said to my hiking partner, I go, I want to go do it. Can we go do another one? I don't do that. I'm usually like one and done. And I said, I want to go hike another one because it was, my energy was so good. And I peed only once and I was still like, I felt very hydrated, energetic. And I was just, it was a very quick recovery.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Resting heart rate. I was shocked at where my resting heart rate was because it was less than what it was standing in Winter Park when the altitude sickness hit.
I want to give you an idea for your altitude sickness because I tend towards that.
Uh-huh.
And so we have the Grand Mesa near here goes up to 10.5. And when we go up there, what we do when I take our spray, actually I don't have one here. I do, our Instalight spray. And what you do is as you're hiking up, when you start to feel the pressure, you just stop and you just spray and breathe this in. Like that.
You don't even put it in your mouth, just right on you.
Breathe it in. And then you walk a little bit more. And maybe every 15 minutes, just stop for a moment, spray, breathe in, and see how your altitude sickness, literally this totally takes it away from me when I do that.
Really? This is fantastic because I actually even emailed Cam McDonald, who's the CEO and chief educator at PH360. And this is where I saw in my profile, this is my AI-based platform I use, where my health type is called an activator, how I'm formed in the womb, predominant hormones. As you see me, I'm a true mesomorph. You're short, little muscular person, right? We're the people in the CrossFit gyms and competitive as hell, which is why I would charge up that mountain. And he said, or I had seen in my profile when I first got it 4 years ago, it says, you are extremely taxed. Your type is extremely taxed because we oxidize more than any other health type by altitude and wind. And I have literally watched with CrossFit coming around a corner out of an alley, starting to run with no wind, hitting the wind, watching my heart rate go up. And I notice it with the altitude, right? And I was just like, this is so fascinating to me. I've been living in altitude for 28 years and why I feel like such a different person when I leave. But everybody here talks about the 14ers, 13ers. I'm going, I'm afraid because when I hit about just a little over 12,000, I start getting super lightheaded. My legs start to feel super shaky. Heart rate goes up. It's very uncomfortable and somewhat frightening.
You've got to try this.
I'm so excited because
yeah.
I took off all next week to go hike.
Oh,
I'm a couple of them are looking at over 12,000 feet going, all right, am I going to get shaky? So I am so going to experiment with this. And anybody that's listening, coming to Colorado, because God knows there's a ton of people moving here, right? Like, stay away. You don't want to come here. It sucks. But if you're coming out here to visit or something, pick up a bottle of this is the Instalights. And we're going to talk about your different products and how to use them here. And with those little 2 travel sizes of the Electrolyze and Microboost came this bottle of Instalights. And I haven't known how to use it, so I've never used it. So I actually have a bottle of it, and I might use it this weekend, if not next. So I will report back for sure. But I'd love to have feedback from anybody else that tries this as well with altitude, because this is fantastic, and it could be my saving grace for some higher ones that I want to use.
I think you'll be amazed.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about how fulvic and humic work, because it does seem weird that just spraying that spray and breathing it in would actually have any effect at all.
Perfect segue.
And it has no scent. I think, and even where plant-based minerals come from is an interesting story. I think it's a weird thing to say plant-based minerals. And for the people who are carnivores out there, just so you know, there are no like bad plant stuff in there. These are plants that decomposed 65 million years ago. So imagine the Earth 65 million years ago when the dinosaurs lived. There was a lot of rainforests around the Earth, and a meteor hit the Yucatan, and it killed 75% of all life on Earth in a few hours.
Wow.
And all of these rainforests died and decomposed. And when they these are freshwater plants, and when they decomposed, they turned into different materials around the Earth. We have shilajit in the Himalayas, we have peat in the British Isles, and we have black soil in the South America, and we have this material we use called humic that comes from the Southwest United States. It's a black crystalline substance, comes from about 10 to 12 feet below the Earth. It's incredibly mineral rich. We take that material and we extract these two molecules out of it. And we extract it using a completely water-based process, using incredibly beautifully filtered and structured water in our facility here in Colorado. And these two molecules that we extract are called humic and fulvic. And just to be clear, first we extract the humic, and then we extract fulvic out of the humic. So when you hear about humic actually includes fulvic, but we've extracted it out separately. So now it becomes a specific tool. And once you understand how the two molecules work, you'll understand how you can use them as tools in your kit bag for your health and your well-being. So let's first talk about fulvic, because it's the one that has the incredible support for enhancing nutrient uptake in the system. It's called a flavonoid, and a flavonoid is a very small molecule. It's much, much smaller than a cell, and it's an intercellular transporter. So the way your cells work, if you're in a room right now and there's maybe a door and a window, when the door opens, now air or people or whatever can go in and out. And that's the way your cell wall works. If you want to keep people out, you keep the door shut. And if you want to let people in, you open the door. And you might even put a gate across there. Kids couldn't come through or something, but adult could step over. And so the wall of your cell is like a gated place. It's trying to keep non-beneficial substances out, but beneficial substances can come through. Mm-hmm. If, let's say, a magnesium particle hits that cell wall lining body. So it's a very small cell. It's much smaller than a cell, and it's an intercellular transporter. So what happens is that the cell lining opens a channel, and that flavonoid fulvic molecule carries nutrients into the cell. It's this extremely strong electrolyte molecule, and because it has a full spectrum, all of the minerals in your body that are needed in your body are part of the fulvic molecule. The channel opens, that fulvic molecule goes through the channel, and then it does what no other molecule on Earth can do. It changes its polarity. Imagine a magnet, and if you put it near some metal, those things attach to it. Now imagine if you could turn that magnet off, those things would fall off. Mm-hmm. And that's what happens with the fulvic molecule. It carries nutrients and minerals into the cell, actually 60 times its molecular weight of nutrients and minerals into the cell. And then it changes its polarity, and those things drop off inside the cell. It is literally a delivery system for nutrients and minerals into the cell.
It's like a cellular Uber.
It's a cellular Uber, totally a cellular Uber. It just drops those things off. And then now it's in an opposite polarity, and it travels around inside the cell, and it gathers biowaste, toxins, heavy metals, nanoplastics, glyphosate, dioxin. Now it carries those out of the cell. The channel opens in the cell wall, and it carries those things out of the cell. And then it changes its polarity again and drops those things off in the bloodstream. So it's both an uptake enhancer for nutrients into the cell, mm-hmm. and an intercellular detoxification tool. And that's a really important piece for people who are struggling with
Toxicants.
toxicants.
Yep.
Thank you. Because it's one thing to get toxicants out of your bloodstream.
Mhm.
It's another thing to get them out of your tissues. And if you think about your cells or your tissues, so you want to lower heavy metals get stored in your fats as an example. So you want to get those out of your tissues and into the bloodstream where they can actually leave your body.
Mhm.
So we've talked about the fulvic. It's that intercellular transporter, nutrients in, biowaste and toxins out of the cells. Now we talk about the humic molecule. And humic and fulvic are partners. They exist always together. And the humic molecule is relative to a cell, a very large molecule. It hangs out in the bloodstream. I like to call it Mother Nature's janitor. It's an extremely effective remover of cellular detritus from biosynthesis processes, biowaste, toxic substances such as heavy metals, nanoplastics, just general elements that your body wants to get rid of, and glyphosate. It is one of the most well-known substances that lowers glyphosate toxicity in soils, in water-based systems, and in tissues and in your body. All of the detox protocols that are associated with glyphosate, lowering glyphosate toxicity, are using humic. And what happens is it actually gathers that humic molecule, sequesters it as part of the molecule, builds a film around it, and then starts breaking it down. So these are just really effective glyphosate remediation in your system, because once it's gathered that and sequestered that molecule, it can no longer, the glyphosate can no longer have its problematic effects in your system. Ultimately, this humic molecule gets so heavy at a molecular weight, it falls out of solution and it leaves your body through all the elimination channels. And that's really important because most detox protocols that we use have to have certain pathways open. And you have to sometimes do protocols to open the pathways or clear the pathways prior to doing a detoxification process. With humic, it will use every pathway, whatever pathway is open, including your tears, your snot, your sweat, your saliva, your breath, just rubbing any sloughing off cells on your body, bottoms of your feet.
Dry brushing.
Which is dry brushing, exactly, as well as just your urine and feces.
Mhm.
This is one of the reasons it's so effective. Now, it is a very gentle process. However, certain people who have,
You're reading my mind.
autoimmune, we're going to talk about Lyme's. We're going to talk about people who have mold exposure. And just so we're clear, I've had autoimmune. I have autoimmune and I have had mold exposure. So I'm a very sensitive person.
Mm-hmm. And
so one of the challenges that people have with the detox protocols that use humic is they will have what we call Herxheimer responses, which are detox responses. These aren't bad. What it really is your body saying, yay, I can get rid of this stuff and I'm going to do it all now. And then people have a whole bunch of different symptoms. We have a great article on our website. If you want to put it, link it in the show notes. It helps demystify these Herxheimer responses and helps you understand what to look for and ultimately it helps, because it has at the end of what we call the slow introduction method. And it's a process for how you can slowly start introducing humic to your system in a way that will eliminate these uncomfortable detox responses. So you do not have to have detox responses. You just have to go very slowly and introduce the process, introduce the elements into your system slowly.
Yeah, which is hugely important. As I said, I'm chronic Lyme and I've been in remission for a few years. And when I first started, I'm going to go into a little bit of customer service here, why I love this company and their response. So I had emailed you guys because I've been so afraid to use this stuff because of the Hersheimer reaction.
Mhm.
And I thought, I don't want to relive any of that shit like, at all. And so I emailed you guys and I said, I know that there's different protocols for someone who is extremely sensitive as I am. And your person who emailed me back said, you know what? I'm going to set you up with Caroline, one of the co-founders. And I thought, you're pushing me right to the top. And
Mhm.
you set up a Zoom meeting with me.
Mhm.
And we spent a good half hour discussing this to where I felt so comfortable. I was ready to dive in and started at just a quarter teaspoon.
Mhm.
And for the first few days, I was like, what the hell hit me? Here comes some symptoms back. And I just stuck through it and then started feeling better and going, wait, but this stuff's making me feel good now.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
I upped it by a half teaspoon, another half teaspoon, and hit me.
Yeah,
And I
you had to go back.
emailed you immediately and I said, Caroline, what the heck? I went up and you said, no, just go up quarter teaspoon at a time and give it some time till you feel really good before you do it again. So it took me, like I said, I started, I believe it was early November until about May, where I'm at 2 teaspoons.
Mhm.
And it's my little sweet spot.
Mhm.
But the fact that you guys took the time to meet with me, just any old Joe Blow customer, and see what I was about and what my needs were and my fears, and to work me through that to where it's been such a great, just a great process with its
Nice.
ups and downs here and there. But as you said, when we have these issues, things happen. But the
Yeah, I
difference
think
I
yeah.
felt
Yeah.
as I moved up, just completely different. So it's
We
well
we
worth it.
have really high what what we always say is what we want to do as a company is bring the conversation about minerals to the world. Because there's such a misunderstanding about minerals and how they work. And there's there's a lot of misunderstanding about humic and fulvic as well. And we also, because of my own personal experience with the minerals, I really want to help people. If I had only known about these minerals like 20 years ago, it could have changed my entire life. So I really want to help people. And we work so hard with our customer service people. We have we say our first job is just to see the person
Mhm.
actually, and then reflect them so that they actually know they've been seen. We don't even want to get to their problem or solving their problem until we've actually related to them as a human being. And it makes so much difference because what are we doing in the world
Huge.
here today? We need to actually relate with one another. And
Yeah.
we as a company are extremely focused both internally with the people who work with us in our company and with every relationship that we have, whether it's you as a customer who calls in or writes us with some concern. Just recently, we had somebody who was posting on Instagram about heavy metals, and it's a big misunderstanding about heavy metals and humic, which we could go into if you want.
I written
And,
down actually
and
as
yeah,
we were
and
talking about metals.
I literally spent 2 months contacting him over and over again and saying, look, I'd really like to talk to you.
Mhm.
We had one conversation. I completely changed his mind because he just didn't know. People just don't understand. So people ask about heavy metals because when you look at the certificate of analysis of humic and fulvic, you will see that they have every mineral on earth in them,
Mhm.
including what we call heavy metals.
Mhm.
But what's so interesting, and it's why humic and fulvic are being studied around the world, fulvic as a delivery system for everything from pharmaceuticals to all sorts of different things into cells, as well as intercellular detoxification, and humic as a detoxification element for heavy metals, for glyphosate in farming and in animal husbandry, is because glyphosate, the heavy metals that are part of the humic molecule, and remember fulvic is part of humic, the heavy metals that are part of these molecules are completely sequestered in the molecule. Now, this is the interesting thing that we think heavy metals are bad, and they are. When they are free roaming in your body, they cause oxidative stress and all sorts of other problems. You do not want free roaming heavy metals in your body. But the heavy metals that first of all, they're in such minute amounts, extremely minute amounts, and they are sequestered in the molecule and they do not come loose. And in fact, humic and fulvic will actually travel through your system, through the aqueous solution of your body, gathering those and chelating with the free ranging heavy metals that you have in your system. We work with a heavy metal detoxification expert. She's from China. She's world renowned. And she called me one day and she said, I need to talk to you. I'm like, okay. Oh, and she said, you don't understand. Your product is the only product that I've used. I've tried so many binders, all sorts of different tools. Your product is the only one that has been able to lower the levels of lead and mercury in my patients.
Wow. So, this is interesting. I had a client last night who she said, my lead's high, but after COVID, I haven't done the chelation since. So I think I brought up Beam, not in that respect, something else. So that could actually be something really good.
Absolutely.
Help her with that.
In fact, I have some studies that I can send you that if you want to send to her about lead, specifically lead, toxic issues with lead.
That'd be fantastic. Because I've had them too. I had them so badly, and my naturopath wanted to do chelation. And it was right at the time I found all the DNA. So I didn't know that I had major undermethylator, huge. I had no clue. And I met Dr. Ann Shippey at this Paleo FX conference down in Austin. And I went up to her because I listened to her and I thought maybe she can give me some insight. And she took one look at me. She said, I can tell right now you're not methylating well. I don't even know what that is. And she said, do not chelate. It will make things worse.
Thank you.
See, she said, do not chelate. And here I had it in my fridge, all my chelation stuff. And I ended up throwing it away. I never used it because you're putting all this stuff in. And when you can't detox properly, what happens? This shit just floats around in there and makes you worse. And I already was so miserable. My eyes were so dark and it was like, I didn't even look like the same person. I was so sick, but that's what she had said. And so this is making so much sense and probably why I've experienced some other symptoms because I've had some major metal issues with lead and gadolinium and where this is probably pulling some of this. But it's also
and you also can't do glutathione, is that right?
I don't. I do NAC, but glutathione and I don't get along.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you about, because you and I are so much alike, I'm going to tell you about a product. It's the only glutathione product that I can use, and it's amazing.
Okay.
It works so well, and it's called Glutaril. You spray it on your skin and it absorbs through your skin. I'm telling you, it's amazing and it truly works for people like you and I.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because that's something I've tried glutathione and I don't feel good. And I just love the NAC. But
try the Glutaril.
Sometimes you need that extra.
In fact, I'll send you a link.
Send me a link. We'll put that in the show notes because I guarantee you there's other people. We're not the only ones, Caroline. There's so many people are out here. That's why I love doing these podcasts. And I have clients on here. And I had one client, she's willing to come on and she said, I just didn't think anybody would want to hear my story. I said, all you need is one person to hear your story and know that there's hope. Exactly. And they're not the only one. And that's why I do this because we need to hear this. Yeah. So that's fantastic. We're going to have some awesome things down in the show notes here. Some great links for people to work with. Because I just keep going through my head. Like I know this client, myself, they can work with this. So and then like I said, now if you have something really specific, reach out to the team because they'll be able to guide you just like with the altitude. Reach out. You never know. One other thing I want to touch on is the like autoimmune and thyroid. I've had heard some people say, well, it's not good for thyroid. It makes it worse, or autoimmune can bring it out. So if you touch on that, and then I want to go into the different products that you do offer and, what the difference is.
Yeah. And And I'm not sure why people say humic and fulvic is not good for thyroid. It's certainly, I mean, I have low thyroid. I'm actually just starting to work with Amy Horniman because it's the last thing of my issues that I had that is not completely solved. But all the women in my family have low thyroid. So we're going to learn about what actually is happening. I'm meeting her tomorrow. I'm so excited.
Yay!
Yeah. But the thing that I want people to understand is that every single biosynthesis process in your body requires different minerals to work, for them to actually occur. And that includes thyroid production. It includes adrenals. And in fact, the thyroid I talk about the three-legged stool of for women, reproductive hormones, your adrenals, and your thyroid. And they work together in a balanced way. And without minerals, you're going to be out of balance. Thyroid gland actually gathers minerals. The adrenal gland has to it keeps a whole bunch of minerals in the gland. When you are mineral depleted, that's one of the first things that gets hit is your adrenals. That's what's keeping you from getting up off the couch, right? Like, I don't have the energy to go to the gym. Just give me some salt and sugar. Cause what does a hungry cell crave?
Yeah.
Anything to give it something quick, salt and sugar, right?
Yeah. So I flatlined last year, just like you with the adrenals, did my Dutch test, and my cortisol was below the low point. It was virtually non-existent. And look at now, I'm like bouncing off the wall where I couldn't get out of bed. And now I'm thinking back, end of summer, hiking, outdoor concerts, so much of the salt minerals over and probably how out of balance. So yeah.
Exactly. It's so exciting. I'm so excited for you. And now being able to do those hikes
it's a huge difference this year.
Absolutely a game changer.
Yeah.
So my main thing that I'm not a thyroid expert in any way, shape or form, but I've actually halved the amount of thyroid that I've used over the years of using these minerals, because all of the biosynthesis processes now are fueled with the full spectrum of minerals. So the difference between taking a salt-based electrolyte packet is you're giving 4 or 5 minerals, 3 to 5 minerals that your body needs, but you're throwing your body into imbalance, where when you're taking these plant-based humic and fulvic substances, they have all of the minerals you need in the natural ratios of minerals that you need and in small amounts. So the paradigm shift is, rather than looking at your body like a car where I'm going to fill up the tank of magnesium or potassium or whatever every day, which doesn't take into account the way your natural replenishment system actually works. Instead, what you're going to do is infuse your system every day with small amounts, trace amounts of the full spectrum of minerals that you need in extremely bioavailable ways. So now your body, in its incredibly infinite wisdom, can say, oh, I need some potassium over here. Oh, I need some molybdenum. Oh, I need some vanadium. Oh, we need some boron. Oh, we need selenium. Oh, we need some chromium. Oh, she's working out. She's hiking. We need a lot of magnesium. And it's all there available to the body when you need it.
And again, the bioavailability is key, because even if you're using it but your body is not absorbing it, what's the point?
Yes.
So it's all about the availability.
Well, and you know how you said, well, what about magnesium glycinate or citronate or whatever it was? And I say, and people often ask me, well, what type of magnesium do you have in your product, or how much potassium and what type, or what type of calcium? And I say, no, think about the periodic table. It's magnesium at its base chemical component mode. It's ready to be magnesium glycinate or citronate. Your body then can combine it and create what it needs, where it needs it, when it needs it, how it needs it. Do you see? It's it's an absolute paradigm shift. And it's actually, instead of thinking about, this is why I say, rather than supplementing and trying to put stuff into your body, instead what this is about is creating a relationship with my body where I'm giving it its fundamental, it's like cultivation. You're working with your body as an ecosystem, giving it the foundational elements that it needs so that then because your body is so incredibly complex.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get down to the cellular and molecular level, it is so phenomenally complex. There is no way that you as a biohacker, as a really smart person, or even as a doctor, as a practitioner, there's no way that you can determine what either your body needs or another person's body needs when it comes to minerals at any given moment. Mm-hmm. So instead, what you're going to do is provide everything that it needs in the proper ratios in a very bioavailable form so that it can utilize what it needs when it needs it, where it needs it.
That makes sense to me coming from the complex system, the body. And that's what I tell people, because there's coaches and companies out there saying, we're going to do 5 DNA SNPs that are going to be your be all end all and tell you everything. And I go, why do you want to waste your money? Mm-hmm. Because methylation is one part of our complex system of how things work. Why would you not want to do an array that has everything to look at the body as the complex system instead of these parts? So it's really the same as you saying, like, why would you want to do just a few minerals here and there when we have this complex system that the body can utilize? Look at it as a whole. So it rings very true with me that you can do the little piecemealing and look at parts here, but then you're going to miss the other parts that are playing together with it.
Right.
Because it's all synergistic. So that makes total sense to me coming from that standpoint. Our bodies, when you give I don't care whether you have Lyme, autoimmune, some other disease, whatever, the body's out of balance. And it doesn't matter age-wise, whether you're young, you're old. When you give the body what it absolutely needs, when you feed it properly, you give it sleep, stress, that depletes everything, right? All of these things. When you feed the body the things that it needs, it's amazing how it has the capacity to find the homeostasis or that balance, right? Exactly. And it's not going to be just, take this pill. Take this one thing where it's going to be the be all end all. Doesn't happen. Yeah, it's just the body is such an amazing tool.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about your products as we close here. And then I will tell people that we have a great discount code that we'll be able to put as well. And it is active now. So you can get in there and get your damn B minerals, people. They're fantastic. So talk about the different products that you offer and how they differ and how they would be used, please.
Yeah. So we have what we call our advanced set. And our advanced set includes 2 products. One is called Electrolyze. It comes in a green bottle. And the other is called Microboost, and it comes in a blue bottle. The green bottle, the Electrolyze, is the fulvic supplement or replenisher. Actually, I want to call it a replenisher. And Microboost is the humic mineral replenisher. So what you've got here together, half a cap, which is half an ounce each every day, is the standard foundational amount for a regular person. If you're a performance athlete or you do huge hikes, what you've got now are tools that you can use separately. Now, there are a lot of humic products out there. They have humic and fulvic as part of the humic molecule. But because so many people are sensitive, it's nice to have the fulvic separate because no one reacts to the fulvic. So use this instead of your salt-based electrolytes, use this as your replenisher for, let's say you have a filter in a reverse osmosis filter in your house. Every time you fill up your glass of water, you just pour a splash of electrolytes in there. Now you have mineralized with a full spectrum of minerals water, and it won't change the flavor of your water. Let's say you're going on a hike and you're going to be sweating. You're going to put some electrolytes into your water bottle that you're going to be taking on your hike. When you get back, if you went on a 12-mile hike with lots of altitude gain and you're like really feeling tired and out of it at the end, you just take another capful, even up to a full capful.
Recovery.
for recovery. And you will feel a difference in minutes.
Wow.
Absolutely
Okay.
in minutes. And then if we also have a spray, and the spray is that fulvic spray called Instalites. While you're on your hike, we talked about that with you. You can literally spray this and you just spray and breathe it in. And you're getting an infusion of electrolytes directly through your skin and also through your sinuses, because your sinuses are extremely permeable. And because that fulvic molecule is so small, it absorbs through the skin into the muscle, into the tissues within 3 to 5 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
because this fulvic, the electrolyzed product, again, it's such a small molecule. When you drink this, it requires no digestion, starts absorbing through the lining of your mouth, your esophagus, your throat. By the time it hits your stomach, some portion of it's already been absorbed and assimilated and is being utilized by your body. We've gone to bike races, like 100-mile runs. They go out 50 miles, come back, and we're at the 50-mile mark. And they come in and they're literally shaking. They're like, can hardly walk. A lot of them are cramping.
Yeah.
What we do is we spray their legs down with Instalites, and also their arms are often, hands are often tired, their lower backs. And they're like, whoa, what just happened? And then we give them a drink of electrolytes, and they are used to taking salt-based electrolytes, which can mess their stomach up. So then they're drinking pickle juice, and they're like, what? And instead they come over, they're like, what do you have? And we're like, try it. And literally 30 seconds after taking it, they're like, whoa, what just happened? Because their body is so depleted that their body just sucks it up immediately and you starts utilizing it.
And you can't get too much of it, right? It's not something where you're like worried about taking too much.
You can't worry. You don't worry about taking too much. The body works extremely well. Remember that your body recognizes fulvic as a beneficial substance. It easily uptakes and it easily eliminates excess. But I say, because most of us are operating at about 40%, unless you've been used, I'm probably much higher, but it's not a concern. So the humic now is the thing that you can use based on you as a person. You can use this in multiple ways. First of all, if you are sensitive, you're going to use our slow introduction method, which is a 1/4 teaspoon in an 8 to 12 ounce glass of water, drunk over 10 minutes or so. So you're going to slowly do that for a few days, then titrate up and slowly add a 1/4 teaspoon at a time until you get to that half cap. But you can also use this once you are regulated to using it. You can use it for, let's say you feel a cold coming on, a tickle in the back of your throat, or you feel that queasy feeling like maybe you're fighting a virus. You just take an extra 1/4 to half cap of this to kill that, to remove that bacteria. Let's say you go out and have some wine or alcohol with some friends and you don't want to wake up with a hangover. You can have an extra portion of microboost before you go to bed. You'll wake up with no hangover. Or let's say you got food poisoning or something with your stomach. It's a great way to remove that. So these become tools in your kit bag. One for remineralizing, for quick mineral replenishment is the electrolytes, and for killing bad bacteria or viruses, that kind of thing, and removing any detox required, the microboost becomes an extra tool. But both together, they're the powerhouse. Daily mineral replenishment.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, I have a trip to Mexico I'm taking, and I didn't do too well because I didn't know that all the salads are washed in their water. So I came back last time I was there. I was a mess. I'm taking my microboost with me, and I might be using a little bit extra just to protect from any of the bacteria stuff. So this is super awesome. So the best way to get Beam Minerals is to go to beamminerals.com, and that's BEAM, like a balance beam. So beamminerals.com, and to get 20% off of your order, the discount code would be beamminerals.com/awaken, because my business is Healthy Awakening. So beamminerals.com/awaken for a 20% off on these fantastic products. And you do have subscriptions available. I get mine shipped on a regular basis, so I don't even have to think about it.
What's your discount code in case people don't remember the whole link.
Oh, it's just Awaken.
Awaken, great. So
Yep,
they can just
Awaken.
Awaken also.
Yep.
Yeah, you get
You're
the 20% off.
waking up to it. A whole new awesome feeling. Yeah. So this has just been such a fascinating conversation. And I even got to learn more than I even thought I knew about this product and how to use it. And I'm so excited to get out there. And I have friends that listen to this that are athletes, and whether they live in Colorado or not, this is just, I think it's going to be a game change for them to
Awesome.
be adding into their personal products and for my clients as well. And if someone wanted to reach out and ask any questions, how would they reach out?
We can put a link in the show notes, but they can also just contact us at info@beamminerals.com and tell them that you want to talk to me. We'll figure that out.
Perfect. Like I said, they're just so accessible. The people there are just super knowledgeable and so accessible. So thank you so much for coming on, Caroline. This has been a fabulous conversation. We didn't think we'd go that long, and look how long, look how long we went. So this is when you dive into good stuff, right?
Yeah,
It's all
absolutely.
good. Thank you so much. Okay, everybody. And if you're interested in looking at working with me, of course, my consults are free. Just reach out to me. Every way to contact me is in the show notes below. Share this, please. Share this episode out there, because I guarantee you there are people that can be helped with this product. It is fantastic. And if you have questions, feel free to message me as well. So get out there, go let your best self shine, make it a fantastic day. Thank you for tuning into my podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, I'd love for you to share it with someone who'd find the information useful. Please leave a review anywhere you listen to podcasts, and it'll help the information get out to others. If you're interested in seeing if we're a great fit to work together, the link is in the show notes below, where you can sign up for a free consultation with me. So go make it a great day and let your authentic self shine.